Hello everyone, and welcome to the first of the online reviews for the United States Arizona Government course for the fall 2011. These reviews will be posted at the end of each week to help you kind of know exactly what we talked about in class, and if you were gone, of course, to know what you need to be reading about and catching up on. After we got through the initial days of schedule changes and going through the syllabus and teaching about how to get through the homework and the study guides that you have to do, the basics of class revolved around the basics of government. We talked about what life would be like without government. We call that the state of nature. What would it be like living without it? And of course, in our discussions in class, we came to the conclusion that government, we may not like every decision that's made, but they are here for a reason. We talked about different ways government changes. We talked about war affecting the way that government is, and about new rules and regulations that come into place, and we talked about other aspects in life, freedom of speech issues, liberty issues, and of course this is just the introductory unit to the class, and we will expand upon this as we go. Week 1, we challenge you to think about who has the power. Does a president really have as much power as a lot of people pretend they do, especially when they can lose their job any given election year? Speaking of powers, the three basics, the executive power, the legislative, and the judicial power that any government has. We will talk throughout this class about the relationship between these three powers, but it is important that you understand the basics of what they are. We touched on the Constitution. We'll definitely get more to this as the weeks go by. What we really wanted you to know for the introductory unit is simply that the Constitution for any government on the planet is the foundation to any law that they make. And again, these basic concepts, a state, any sovereign territory where people can have rule over their own affairs. It's the best way to think about this concept of a state. And of course, in our country, the state, your governor, your local PD, has a lot more effect on your life than, say, the people that are in Washington, even though they tend to get a lot of the focus. We also talked about the theories of why government exists, and we challenged you to think, can you force people to move from one to another? The force theory, moving to the evolutionary theory, the divine right theory, and the social contract theory. Things that we added into this class to make sure you understand the different roles government may play in a culture. And with that, we applied it to how the United States came about. Of course, the force theory, that when the colonists got here, they definitely forced people out that were here. Evolutionary theory, we broke into our tribes, or states if you will. The king of Britain tried to establish his divine right on us, and of course it didn't work, and we chose to write our own social contract. We founded a country based on liberty, in other words, freedom from government, but we also in this class analyzed some basics about human behavior. You were asked in class to give some reactions to terms, and of course we saw how stereotype is a very normal, natural thing, and we talked about what that can lead to. Now, when you stereotype and you classify, that will determine who your friends are. Government classifications are no different. And of course we talked about a democracy versus a theocracy and how we have very different views of the world, and how, say, the United States and Great Britain are very good friends because we have very similar ways of going about it. And it's no different in the friends that you pick. We tend to stick to people that are very similar to us. Now, we talked about other classifications, an autocracy, an autocrat, or a dictatorship. We talked about an oligarchy, again, a small ruling class, and I applied the school concept to that because we wanted to show you how it's just a select few that run everything. We also talked about the range of government in class, and just to give you an introduction to how big and expansive the government can be. Everything from protecting you with curfew laws from when middle schoolers don't know when to go home, to protecting from much bigger problems that will come along. We will go through the concept of federalism that helps with this large-scale issue as we go. But of course, we want you to know from the beginning that we used to be a confederation. As we go from the Articles of Confederation to the modern Constitution, we'll show you how this changed and evolved over time. Some basic foundations, just simply that we were founded on this concept of equality, even though we don't necessarily always live up to it. Minorities always have rights in this country, and we applied the Michael Newdow example and the whole getting God out of society. And of course, compromise is one of the founding principles. Again, these reviews will be posted just to help you as we go through this class. I hope this first one was a good help.